Hey, what's up everybody? With the new update that came out alongside the Jungle Awakens DLC, a lot of changes were made to the way that souls work and which soul items you should still use, and also which soul enchantments would be great for you to use as well. I know that I haven't been uploading as much in the past 7 days, but don't worry, I'm back. I'm uploading as much as possible. I'm gonna aim for every single day, so don't worry, the content will be coming, and I appreciate all of you that watch my videos and support me, so thank you all. Getting into it, I want to talk about the Anima conduit enchantment as soon as possible, but before that, I'll quickly give you an overview of the changes to how souls work in general after the update. All soul weapons now have +1 soul gathering, except for the soul knives, which still have +2 soul gathering on them. And also, soul armor only gives you 50% soul gathering instead of +100% soul gathering, meaning that soul armor will not be giving you nearly as many extra souls as it would before. So this does open up some room to put on different pieces of armor that are not soul. Now we also do have more sources for soul gathering, as soul enchantments give you +1 soul gathering, and soul gathering is now collected on all gear no matter what kind of kill it is. And this means that if you have soul gathering on your bow, but you're using your melee weapon and you kill a mob, you will still benefit from the soul gathering that is on your bow. And if you have soul gathering on both of the weapons, then both of them will always contribute to your soul gathering. Also, the max amount of souls that you can have has been increased from 50 to 300. This seems really drastic, but everything else was balanced out to make the change pretty balanced, and you are still able to max out your soul meter and keep it maxed out pretty easily. Overall, these changes don't affect the feel of soul builds too much. You do have more flexibility with your armor slot now, and soul enchantments are a bit more beneficial as well, but that's about it. Alrighty, now to get into Anima conduit. It used to heal you for 3% of your total health for every visual soul that you would collect, but it now heals you for 6% of your total health for each visual soul that you collect. That is 2 times as much, and before this increase, the enchantment could already sustain you pretty well, so this just makes it very strong. Additionally, the enchantment now triggers on any kill source, so just like the change to soul gathering, if you have Anima conduit on your bow and not on your melee weapon, but you kill an enemy with your melee weapon, you will still benefit from the enchantment that is on your bow. The enchantment also stacks if you have it on your melee and ranged weapon, meaning you can heal for 12% of your total health for each visual soul you pick up. Anima conduit is a must-have for any soul build, and it can just be used in a regular build as well, since if you are using a build that is primarily based on your melee weapon, you can just equip a soul bow and you will still heal from every soul you collect. On my recent video where I talked about the best source of healing in Minecraft dungeons, I had some feedback telling me that the Anima conduit enchantment is the best source of healing, and I both disagree and agree with this statement. And that is because, first of all, you need to have supporting items to make this enchantment work. You can't just have the weapon with the enchantment on it, because that is not going to give you enough souls to be able to make it effective. So you do need multiple pieces that have soul gathering on them. Alongside that, there are problems with the magnetization that souls have, because yes, if you defeat mobs and then you keep running and you go off screen, the souls will catch up to you and heal you pretty quickly. But if you're in one area where there are a bunch of mobs, sometimes the souls will just get stuck on the exact place where you kill the mob, and even if you're right next to the souls, they magnetize to you extremely slowly, and sometimes they will barely magnetize to you at all, and even if you stand on them, it will take some time. It just causes problems because, especially with the strong archers, you can be moving from archer to archer that is in one small area, and you will not be getting much healing from your Anima conduit at all, and that is just going to cause you so many problems. With all that being said, I still think that the enchantment is amazing. It can heal you for so much. It has a very high power cap, and with this new update, it has become incredibly utilizable and strong. Next, to talk about soul speed. This enchantment has had some traits buffed and some nerfed. The max amount of stacks that you can have has been reduced from 100 to 5, but the increase in speed that you gain from each stack was increased from 1% to 5%. So you used to be able to get up to 100% extra movement speed, and now you can only gain 25% extra movement speed. The duration of the enchantment was also increased from 4 seconds to 7 seconds at tier 3, adding a total of 3 seconds to the duration of the enchantment. The changes made to the soul speed changed it a lot. They have made it a lot more consistent because you only need to keep up 5 stacks of it, and the duration of the stacks have been increased to almost double of what it was before. But at the same time, the enchantment can no longer reach the crazy speeds that it could before, where you would be as fast as Sonic before. The speed that it gives you now feels very mediocre in comparison, I would say. In the end, I'd say that if you are using a build that is only partially a soul build, then this is a good change for you, since it is difficult to get to and maintain 100 stacks if you don't have a lot of soul items. But for the full-on soul builds, this enchantment is now worse than it was before, since the potential of this enchantment has just been lowered and you go much slower. However, the enchantment is still really good. It essentially gives you a 25% boost to your movement speed, and the boost is definitely noticeable in game. Getting into the soul artifacts, now keep in mind that for all of these artifacts, their cost was increased to balance out with the other changes that were made in general, like the increase to the amount of souls we can collect, and also the buff to the consistency of soul gathering in general. And also the variable soul costs were removed for all of the soul artifacts, meaning that you cannot use artifacts if you don't have the exact number of souls required. Before, you could still use them, but they would just be less effective. Just keep these two things in mind, because I'm not gonna mention these two changes that have happened for each artifact when I talk about each artifact specifically. Firstly, I want to talk about the Harvester artifact. Its cooldown was increased from 1 second to 4 seconds, and its max damage has been increased by 60%. At first, when I saw that the cooldown on this artifact was increased by 3 seconds, I thought that it would just be terrible, since you are not able to just spam it as you could before. But with the big increase in the damage that this deals, it has just basically become more of a bursty artifact, and you just have to time when you use it with a bit more care. But once you get used to it, I think that the extra cooldown is definitely worth the extra damage. Next, let's talk about the Soul Healer, which got nerfed pretty bad. Its cooldown was increased by 4 seconds. It went from having a 1 second cooldown to a 5 second cooldown, and with the combination of the increased cost from 20 souls to 50 souls, and also the healing per soul reduction from 10 to 4 health per soul, you heal for just around a third of your health every time you use the Soul Healer. But the main problem is that you cannot activate this multiple times in rapid succession anymore, and because of that, it can't really sustain you on its own. When you fight a large pack of strong mobs, you need a lot of healing, and while it could sustain you pretty well before the update, whenever you run into these cases now, you're just gonna die. I really liked the Soul Healer before. It was an artifact that I used a lot throughout my leveling, and I just thought that the way it worked was awesome. But because of the changes made to it, I just don't think I'll use it again unless it gets buffed. Then we have the changes made to the Corrupted Beacon, which I think are really interesting because from the changes made, I feel like Mojang really likes the design of this artifact and wants more people to use it. And that's understandable because it is really cool. Corrupted Beacon now has a cooldown of 2.5 seconds, where it didn't have a cooldown before, but its radius has been increased. And the biggest change is that its damage has been increased by 100%. The damage that it does has been doubled. I think that this artifact is great if you use it alongside a piece of armor that increases your artifact damage by 50%, preferably the Soul Dancer robe, which is a soul piece of armor, because that 50% extra damage will activate on every single hit that you do with this artifact, and it attacks extremely fast. It's not a top tier artifact, but if you do have the proper build to support it, then it can be pretty good and very effective in clearing big packs of mobs from a pretty long range. Next, we have the Torment Quiver, which has had some disappointing changes made to it. Its cooldown was increased from 1 second to 6 seconds. Yep, That's a much longer cooldown than before. There are no other changes other than its increase in its cost from 10 souls to 30 souls, but every artifact has had a increase in its cost. I mean, you could essentially keep the Torment Quiver up permanently before, and there were builds being made around it, but with this nerf, you just cannot keep it up permanently at all, and I wouldn't really say that it's viable. Last but not least is the Lightning Rod, which now has a cooldown of 2 seconds. It did not have a cooldown before. A slight increase in its radius, a increase in the damage per soul from 30 to 60, and in the patch notes, it says that the artifact's max damage has effectively been increased by 50% because of the increase to its damage per soul. But I thought that the max damage would effectively be doubled because of this change, because it's going from 30 damage per soul to 60 per soul. But I guess that this just works a bit differently than I thought. Maybe some of you can tell me in the comments below. I'd like to know. Either way, this artifact has definitely been buffed, and I think that this, the Harvester, and the Corrupted Beacon comboed with a soul build using a 50% damage artifact increase from the armor is very strong and also very fun, because you get to use a variety of cool abilities, and it's a nice switch up from just swinging your melee weapon all the time. But overall, that does it for the rework to the soul items and soul effects, and just my recap on the most important things that you should know. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm excited to be back. I'm back. Please give me suggestions for new videos down in the comments below. I always check them out. Even if I don't respond, I do look at the comments, and I appreciate all of you giving me feedback and criticism and whatever it is. It helps a lot. Other than that, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. Really helps out. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.